And I have some other ideas I was thinking about, like if we were going to do back to that PAL strategy, if you made a list, it's always a good idea, or on the PAL strategy, when you pick your ideas, to have the child just practice making lists. It's a great idea to just have the child practice making lists. Like, I want you to list, let's just call them out, things at the mall. What are some things you see at the mall? And this, we'd be writing these on a list. What are some things you see at the mall? Shoes. Good. Tell me really loud. And what else? Shoes.
More shoes.
More shoes. How about people? Food. Yes. Clothes. Yay. Jewelry. Yay. Yay. Good. And you might see, what about some of the structural things in the building? You might see.
Elevator.
Yeah, elevator.
Columns.
Yeah, columns, escalator. Fire extinguishers maybe. Where are they? I can't picture them. But yeah, so you make a list like this PAL, pick your ideas, and then you might organize it. You might say, okay, which ones of those had to do with buying things? Which ones of those had to do with the building itself? You know, and which ones of those are things that are fun? Or, you know, you could organize it somehow, and then you could think of what your topics, your sentence is. I love to hang out at the mall. These are some of the things I see, and then you work from your list. So there's just a lot there, but maybe we should keep going. If we have time, I have a bunch of others I would do. Is this good, what we're doing? Okay. Now, this is my last strategy that we're going to talk about. And we're not going to talk as much about this one, mostly just to think about it. Just a strategy for revising their work. It's just, if you make this intentional, it's going to work better. That's the thing about getting in your frontal lobes. Because don't you think that some of our students that are discouraged are just sort of drifting? Maybe they're not being real intentional about, I'm going to do it this way, would you say? And so they're not going to get there that way, right? They've got to get intentional about it. And so this is just being intentional, like to compare. If you wrote this and you read it, or you read it with your teacher or your parent, and just compare to see if what you meant to write is really what you think you wrote. Compare, and then diagnose. Like, this is kind of a medical model, but diagnose, why doesn't it look right? What's wrong with this? Just think about it on purpose. Maybe use index cards and just jot, okay, it doesn't seem to make sense because of something. And then to operate on it, like in a surgery, to decide the type of changes needed and to do them. It's just a way to think about it step by step. If you were to get this book, Addressing Executive, okay, that's a different one. Oh yeah, that's from Meltzer too. That's from that same book of Executive Function and Education. I just got it from the library. I think I had to get it on interlibrary loan. So you could all request it. There may be a line, but it was a really good book and it had a lot of good information. So these, we're going to just have real quickly advice from famous people with dyslexia. And this could be self-talk for our students. I'm thinking, pick some ideas or talk to your student about, I want you to say this in your head. Babe Ruth, who was so famous, he was dyslexic, and he would tell himself, never let the fear of striking out get in your way. You know, whatever fits for your child, think about. Or Walt Disney, if you can dream it, you can do it. I failed my way to success. I mean, that's not exactly the self-talk, but Thomas Edison, to think he failed like hundreds and hundreds. I mean, how many patents did he try to get done? And he failed a zillion times, but he knew to keep at it. And then Henry Ford, one who fears failure limits his activities. Failure is only the opportunity to more intelligently begin again. To help them see that failure is going to be how you get there, but you got to learn from it. And Charles Schwab, who's dyslexic, the man who has done his best, has done everything. And Muhammad Ali, champions aren't made in gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them, a desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have the skill and the will. So he's thinking about executive function. They have the will and the skill, but the will must be stronger than the skill. And I think that's true. I mean, there are a lot of people with a lot of skill that don't stick with it. And then Winston Churchill was dyslexic, and his famous speech about saying never, never, never give up. So now this is going to be about football. These people aren't necessarily dyslexic, but when you consider that 1 out of 5 guys is dyslexic, 1 out of 5, and I think a lot of famous athletes are dyslexic, so I'm sure a lot of these football players may be, but I don't know it. But these are some of the self-talk we get from the whole thing that started this talk. Do we have like Alabama people in here? Or Auburn people in here? Okay, so I'm an Auburn person, but I'm wearing Alabama colors, or one of them anyway. So, but it was the day after the Iron Bowl, and I'm so sorry to bring that up to Alabama people, but it was I had been studying executive function for a while, and just especially delving into it, and the morning after the Iron Bowl, reading the newspaper, it was like, oh my gosh, executive function, and all these quotes from these football players, and I wrote this talk the morning after Iron Bowl. I mean, I've tweaked it a lot since then, but I wrote this talk that morning out of the newspaper. And so it was all Auburn football articles. And then I thought, some people that looked at it, they said, you know, all the Alabama people can get up and walk out if you give this talk. So it's not all Auburn anymore. But that's what inspired me, because I saw that they were saying these things, and I thought, my gosh, that's what executive function is. And Nick Saban, yay, this is, so Nick Saban, like some of the self-talk that he tells his athletes, and you know how successful they are, he says, what we do today makes a difference. And what if our students said that to themselves? I mean, don't you think a lot of our students are not saying that to themselves? Yeah, so if we can talk to them about, these are football guy things, or these are success things. So he said, what happened yesterday is history, and if they fail that test, that's history, okay? I mean, maybe they can do something, they can work harder now, or they can use a strategy. What happens tomorrow is a mystery, and what we do today makes a difference, the precious present moment. And I got real tricky with on my PowerPoint here, and there he is. Okay, and to stick with it. Like, this was in that paper at the Iron Bowl when our guy, Antoine Carter, caught up with Mark Ingram, right, who was a Heisman Trophy winner and fast. I mean, he wasn't a Heisman Trophy winner for nothing. He was fast, and our guy, Antoine Carter, was not fast. I mean, he was like weighed, 256 pounds? I mean, he wasn't meant to be a runner. But he said, I really didn't think I could catch him. I just kept running. And I thought this was important, so I underlined it. When you finish plays, great things happen. And I'm thinking for our kids, if we get them to tell themselves, when I stick with it, great things happen. Does this seem good to y'all? Yeah. To me, it seemed kind of profound, and I hadn't thought about it that much before. So, but I just think this is a good thing. I had a lot of these. I cut out a whole bunch of pictures so you wouldn't have to watch them all. But like, also never give up even when it looks impossible. So Antoine Carter, again, he's saying it's having the fight in you to keep going, even when you know you can't get there. Just keep running. Because he was behind. He was not as fast, but he kept running, and somebody else kind of got in the way of Mark Ingram and sort of slowed him down. And because other than that, he wouldn't have caught him. But what if he had just said, no way am I going to catch him? And isn't that what our kids say? Don't they say that, no way I can do this? Yeah. So can you picture, is this unreasonable, or do you think our kids can take some of these ideas? Or do you think you can help them to see it maybe? Never give up. Like Nico Thorpe in the halftime when we were 24 points behind or something. We were 24 points behind maybe, or 21 points behind at that. 0. Yeah, 24-0. Ooh, that's not good. And so like he said in this quote, it was a little longer, but I cut it out. But he said something like, we were kind of worried but not concerned, or we were kind of concerned but not worried, I guess. And he said we never stopped fighting till the end. I think that's the part that we never stop fighting till the end. Because if you stop fighting, are you going to win? If you keep fighting, might you win? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you can turn it around. Okay, so this is just the same old slide, but I just want to remind us again, can you touch your frontal lobe? Can you touch the part that sees? To me, seeing? Seeing? Hearing and talking? Touching and moving? Thinking? CEO, executive function. Okay, so can you tell me, hill, set a goal? Okay, what if you use your arm? Hill, set a goal. and then and a plan, I guess. And then what if we say skill? What if we go up again? Skill, we're going to go up that hill to develop the strategies and the abilities. And then will. What if you look determined? Will, that I'm going to stick with it. Okay. So is it hill, skill, or will? Which part is the most important part? Okay, the will.